Her cries echoed against the stone walls as fists rained down for her refusal. "You will obey!" they shouted. But in the shadows of the village, a poor woodcutter gripped his axe handle tighter, because tonight he would not let her suffer alone. The square was filled with dust, rising like smoke as villagers gathered. Torches glowed in the fading light, casting long shadows over stone houses and narrow streets. In the center knelt a young woman, her face bruised, her clothes torn. Her name was Amina, and her only crime was saying no. The men around her shouted with authority, claiming honor, tradition, and law. But their words were poison, disguising control as righteousness. "You will marry him!" they roared, as though her life was theirs to command. Every refusal brought punishment. Every whisper of resistance was met with blows. Yet Amina's eyes, though swollen, held fire. She had endured the beatings, but her spirit refused to break. No one stepped forward. Mothers pulled children close, fathers turned away, neighbors shook their heads in silence. Fear chained them all. But at the edge of the crowd stood a man apart. His clothes were simple, smelling faintly of pine and smoke. His hands were calloused from swinging an axe through endless days. His name was Yusef, a woodcutter whose life had been lived quietly in the forest. He was poor, invisible to most, a shadow among men. But his heart stirred with every blow she endured, for Yusef knew pain. He had grown up fatherless, his only inheritance the sound of trees cracking beneath winter frost. As a boy, he worked beside his mother, carrying bundles of sticks to sell in the market, their survival carved from the bark of oaks and cedars. When illness claimed her, he stood alone, learning to face hunger with silence and loss with strength. He had no gold, no power, no voice among the elders. But he had endured wars with nature, storms that split the sky, loneliness that ate through nights. And in that crucible, he had forged something stronger than wealth, an unshakable resolve. As Amina struggled, Yusef stepped forward, his axe across his shoulder. The crowd shifted, whispers rising. What could a poor woodcutter do against elders backed by authority? What chance did a man with nothing stand in the face of tradition's iron grip? Yusef said nothing. He did not argue. He did not shout. He simply walked into the circle, his presence heavier than any words. His eyes met Amina's, and in that silence, she understood. Someone had finally chosen to stand with her. The elders sneered. "Go back to your forest, woodcutter. This is not your fight." But Yusef remained still, a mountain unshaken. His silence was defiance, his calm a weapon sharper than his axe. The blows stopped, if only from surprise. The crowd held its breath. Slowly, Yusef planted his axe into the ground, the blade gleaming in torchlight. His voice, when it came, was deep and steady. "Respect is not taken. It is given, and no man earns it by breaking a woman's will." The words hung in the night like thunder. The villagers shifted uneasily, their silence now pressing against the elders instead of Amina. Children stared wide-eyed, mothers clutched their scarves, men who once turned away now watched with something new. Hesitation, even shame. The elders blustered, voices raised, but the ground beneath their arrogance trembled. Because for the first time, their cruelty had been met not with submission, but with dignity that would not bow. Yusef stepped closer to Amina, his body a shield between her and their rage. "If she refuses," he said quietly, "then her answer is final. To force her is not tradition. It is cowardice." The crowd stirred. Someone at the back murmured agreement. Another nodded. Whispers turned into ripples. Silence no longer protected the elders. It condemned them. One elder raised a hand, but it faltered in the air. Because in that moment, it was not Yusef's axe they feared, but the awakening of the people's conscience. Amina, battered but unbroken, rose to her feet. Supported by nothing but her will, and the woodcutter's silent presence, she stood taller than all who sought to break her. And then it happened, the shift that no blow could undo. The crowd, once complicit, began to move. Mothers stepped forward, fathers too, standing near Yusef and Amina. One by one they crossed the invisible line of fear until the elders found themselves surrounded, their power drained by the unity of those they once commanded. The poor woodcutter had done what wealth, status, and law could not. He had shown them all that dignity needs no permission. The eldest elder lowered his hand, his voice trembling. Then let her choose. The torches flickered as the night grew still. Amina, her breath ragged, spoke with quiet fire. I choose freedom. And with those words, the square broke into murmurs, then applause, soft at first, then growing into a roar that echoed against the mountains. The elders withdrew, their arrogance crushed not by force, but by the silent honor of one poor man who refused to look away. That night, Yusef walked Amina home, her steps slow but strong beside his. She looked at him and whispered, "Why did you risk everything?" He answered simply, "Because silent strength is the loudest voice." The village changed after that. Fear loosened its grip. Women spoke louder, men listened longer, children grew with the memory of the night the woodcutter and the girl stood against cruelty. And though Yusef returned to his forest, his name lingered in every story told by firelight, every whisper of courage carried by the wind. For sometimes the poorest hands carry the richest truth, that freedom is worth more than gold, and dignity is worth more than life itself. And so the story ends not with defeat, but with triumph born of silence, sacrifice, and honor. What about you? What does this story stir in your heart? Share your thoughts in the comments and tell us where in the world you're watching from. And for more stories of silent heroes, subscribe now, because sometimes the quietest voices carry the greatest power.